stuff on Disney Plus.
Mm.
It's a sort of G-rated version of the
Oh, it says we're live.
of the movie. Nice.
So we've got half of the studio in is probably the best way to put it. So we've got half our stuff in. Audio, yeah, just audio, and this is the first test.
We're on YouTube. We're on all the tubes.
I see we're on Facebook.
Great.
I was banned again on Facebook, so I've about had my fill of the Facebook.
All kinds of things. Got a paranoid wholesaler going crazy down there. Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. Robert here with Mr. Texas Real Estate, with my partner Jason Bible, and this is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. So we had some big results on Saturday. It was took a little time to get it done. There was definitely some celebration, not social distancing, but I'm happy to say that the Fighting Irish beat number 1 Clemson on Saturday night in double overtime. It was an absolutely fantastic game. If you haven't seen it, I'd go back and watch the highlights. It was crazy. And the Irish now sit at number 2.
Ooh.
So we're looking for an Irish-Alabama playoff. That would be a lot of fun.
So it's the first time in recent history that Notre Dame has actually deserved the ranking in which they get, right?
Well,
so most of the time it's like...
it's historic, right?
Where did they put them where in the poll? Anyways, so
Number
those
2.
polls were right.
Yes, those polls were correct.
Those polls were correct for the first time. Those polls were actually correct. So
and another big result, my Giants beat the Redskins.
Oh.
So we got 2 wins this year, both
Looky
over
there.
the Redskins. Looking good.
You could just play them
6 times, 7 times would be
You'll
great.
Be at least 500,
Yeah,
right?
we'll be in the playoffs.
Texans are a disaster.
It's a tough year for all of it, right?
Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all. What are we doing here? Are we talking about election stuff?
Yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about that. Yep.
A-Rock, do I sound okay? It just seems like I'm still... something still doesn't sound right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Election stuff.
Sure. Still counting.
Yeah.
Which we always have counted, right?
Yeah.
They don't get certified until whenever. And, I think I'm not sure the results will get overturned. And I think it'll play out the way it'll play out. I'm most interested to see if the Supremes come in or not.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be very interesting. I don't think John Roberts has an appetite for any of this stuff.
Here's what I've posted to a lot of people on Facebook, and then I promptly got banned from Facebook. Everyone's saying, where's the evidence, where's the evidence, where's the evidence? And then I asked the question, okay, you explain to me. You've got to know where to look. Is probably the best way to say it, right?
Right.
You've got to know where to look. So you explain to me where you would go look. Because I think a lot of people miss the fact that we spent 4 years in a nonsensical, the Russians are coming and they've stolen the election. Which I find pretty ironic because we know the Biden family is on the Chinese payroll. Like, it's the Biden family is actually doing what they accused Trump of 4 years ago, and nobody seems to care. So I find that absolutely fascinating. I think I think of course he's going to fight this thing as long as he can. We'll see what the outcome is, but the fact that the Democrats have lost, right as of this count, a half dozen seats. Whoa. Okay. That is really hot. It's still pretty loud.
Whisper.
That was pretty loud.
Still very loud.
I can
All right. Well,
Oh, that is real
it's
hot.
still pretty hot. Oh, getting better. Close. There you go. I'm feeling comfortable.
All right. Is that wow? I'm surprised you can pick me up that far.
It's good.
Okay, this is probably gonna be really hot.
Hey,
when-
Rock, just mark the time slot and ask Rick to cut it out.
Well, we're getting every bit of
Sounds
that
like,
25 dB gain here.
You know what it's like? It's like, welcome to Idaho Public Radio.
No, that's all of NPR.
Just everything's. Oh, hi, we're a little hot mic here.
Hot mic. It's still really hot.
Yeah, just take a step back.
Tiptoe around. Oh, okay.
Oh, what's the chat saying? I'm sorry.
Do you think it's just coming in hot on our headphones?
Says the volume's really low on YouTube.
We're not tripping any levels over here, right? Okay. I think it's just our headphones are hot.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I'm not getting distortion. Does that sound better or no?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could turn our headphones way. Oh, there we go. Keep turning down a little bit lower, because I'm about to get cranked up here. A little bit lower. Turn it down. Oh, that's it. There we go. That'll work. What do you think? Can you hear?
I hear it just fine.
Okay.
Me?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great.
We have like 10 grand in stuff that we don't know how to use yet, so this is kind of a little JIT for A-Rock today.
Yeah, Tommy, let me know how it sounds now.
See if that's better.
Good.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Now let's go. Just go.
we'll just go right
He'll
into
figure it out. Rick will figure it out. Just mark the time when we're going back. Yeah, I have it right there. So just go ahead and go right back into it. All right.
Okay. Jason Bible, Robert Orfino, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Post-election analysis.
We're redoing it from the beginning. I had such a good joke.
I know.
I had such a good opener.
Well, what's the opener?
It was Notre Dame.
It was the Notre Dame thing?
Man,
I don't know.
Fighting Irish. Yeah, let's get into it because they're still counting and they're still moving forward on this stuff. And I don't see how it gets overturned. I don't think the court wants to pick up that case. I don't think that's...
So here's where things got real interesting for me last week. First, the national discussion was, no, there's no voter fraud. Like there's
well, there's always voter fraud. Right?
Well, yep, but that's not the national discussion is there's no voter fraud. Like that's
Sure.
No, there's been very little of it.
How dare you?
How dare you? Yes. How dare you, fascist. That's right. We're fascists.
You're
So you
fascist. We're
Although I don't think they.
we're both. It's all the same.
So, how dare you say that the election has been compromised? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, there's voter fraud. There's just there's just not enough of it to turn the election. And I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna agree with that statement.
And then step 3 is, well, I don't know. I mean, if there is, could you prove it? And then the question I keep asking everybody else is, okay, well, explain to me where I'm supposed to look. Like, if you've told me that there's no way, it's impossible to hack the election, let's take the null hypothesis. You can hack it. Now let's talk about how you do it. Because remember, this is the whole point of the show. You have to hold 2 competing ideas in your head at the same time.
Sure.
So you explain to me if and you as in the you folks out there that believe that it can't be hacked. Now we're gonna do the other side of the hypothesis. Say, okay,
Sure.
if we were to do it, how would we do it?
Yep.
And here's how it goes in my mind. We absolutely know which counties are most important across the United States. We knew that before going into election. There was no debate about that, right?
10 to 15 of them. Yep.
Which is ironic because if you look at how Florida has performed this year versus 2000 with the record count and everything, there was no problem counting votes in Florida.
Right.
At all.
But why wouldn't the Democrats done it in Miami-Dade or any of that stuff?
Because I don't think you can. I think
Okay.
some of these counties, it's really hard to do it. versus others. Like we knew going into the election, and Pennsylvania has a history of it being an excrement show. In fact, I read something interesting today that said most modern democracies do not allow mail-in balloting. I didn't know that. I would love to do a little research project on that.
Yeah, sure.
There's also some very interesting data out there that the rejection rate for mail-in ballots, despite there being twice as many of them, is 30 times lower than previous elections, which is very interesting, meaning your rejection rate is 30 times lower. Why would that be? Not 30%, a factor of 30.
Sure.
Very interesting. So there's a lot of anomalies out there. Now, the problem is how do you go and investigate any of that? And then the question is, do you really want to? That's the other problem.
That's why I don't listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah, well, I haven't listened to Alex Jones.
I don't want to know.
Started. But then the question is, like, it's audit the Fed and audit Fort Knox, and I'm like, hey, do you really want to know what's in there?
How much gold is really there?
And there's not probably a whole lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a bigger question.
Yeah, I think what is being indicated from the Trump camp and its surrogates and champions on the internet is massive, right? So if we're going to take that, first, I don't believe it, but if I'm going to put let's be an analysis guy, you would have to known every single house in those counties. This is how I would have done it. I would have known every single house in those counties where the people are no longer there, right? Go get my list of vacancies, and when those mail-in ballots got mailed out, go behind them and collect them all, right? And that might have gotten you 3,000 to 5,000 per team working.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go behind, and you can pick up all the stuff and get it in. So maybe you can affect it by $20,000 in the Philadelphia suburbs, in the county of Philadelphia. If you're going to have coordinated folks going out there and basically picking up the ballots from the places where they know people have moved on or sick or aren't going to do it, or stealing ballots that are in the mail from folks that may be, again, sick or old, and writing up those ballots themselves. I don't think it's an inside hit. I think if you're going to do it, it's going to be as mundane and primitive as possible. Just a matter of going around and collecting. If you can put a Chinese menu on every door, you can go pick up a ballot from every door, right?
I don't even think you really have to do that. I think you just send in the mail-in ballots, and if somebody says somebody already voted, we've got a ton of stories about that.
So what I'm saying is an outside force. I think the stuff where the county conspired and all that stuff. I don't believe.
I don't believe any of that either. I don't believe
because the people who work for the government are the most straight arrow, boring people in the world, right?
I'm not buying that.
So do I think there are a bunch of union guys going around picking up stuff? Maybe. That could be a way you could do it. The example they're using in Michigan about the 6,000 votes that got one the other way, I would assume by now that every county checked.
You would hope, right?
You would hope, right? So,
but one thing to keep in mind is, just like last time, we're not talking about a million vote margin. We're going to. It's less than 100,000.
Yeah, but it's going to be more than 100,000 by the time everything is done. So you can either focus on Pennsylvania and focus in on Wisconsin, which takes you 30 votes lower, which would put Trump over if North Carolina falls, right? So it's a lot of votes, and I don't think, if you believe in conspiracies, then anything is possible. I find it very hard that people actually would have kept their mouth shut, essentially for the people that would have to have done it, right? These aren't Russian operatives running around here doing it. Who's going to do it? It's going to be union guys. It's going to be that's it. Like it's not coming from poor neighborhoods. Like, we're not using those folks. It's going to be union guys. It's going to be Democratic operatives, and I don't know. I find it hard that you're going to be able to coordinate that in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different states, and nobody's talking.
What I find so fascinating about this whole deal is for 4 years, media and the Democrats at large, not like some fringe. This is not like the Alex Jones of the left, right? Had a 4-year investigation into a Russia hoax that everyone knew was absolute and utter nonsense. Yet, we can't have the same sort of, hey, maybe we do need to take a look at some of these things. I think that's the interesting part. Should Trump concede, I will tell you this: the election was an absolute bloodbath for Democrats, and we can get into that next segment why that is. And 2022 is going to be brutal for them. It's going to be absolutely brutal.
Hey, this is Robert and Jason with Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. If you guys are interested in reaching out to us, we do talk real estate at some point, right? We'll get back to that. Check out our website, mrtxre.com. MR is in Mr. TX as in Texas, RE is in realestate.com. Or you can just text us at 281-401-9008, 281-401-9008. And we'll be happy to talk about anything. We've got some folks joining our mastermind this month. We've got some events coming up. So love to have you. We'll be right back. I'm not watching any of the feed.
I am not either. Let's see.
I also think we need to both recognize how Zeus, love that name. Hey, for guys on Patreon, we added another video last night. I finally figured it out. It took me a lot of spare time and a lot of frustration, but I figured out how to get them up there so you guys can watch them without us getting totally ripped off. So the guys are up there. If you're on the Patreon, go ahead and look at that. We put the tax one up, and we have another one coming up fairly shortly here. And then we're just gonna put up our 10 steps to real estate investing, which will be Real Estate 101. Then I'll be up there. Got a few more classes I got to recover from and get going. A-Rock, ready when you are. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Robert here with Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio. We're talking about some election results. We're talking about what's going to be moving forward here in the future. I think I told you what my thought was this morning, that they have to keep campaigning because they're broke.
Oh, yeah, but we knew that. Well, they actually just said, I just heard on the radio, they're not doing that. So
they're not doing the rallies?
I don't know who said that, but the actual campaign said, they said, we're not doing that. I don't know who said that. But
I don't know.
I heard it, and it was, they just said.
I think one of the landscapers over at Four Seasons, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I heard it, and they were like, Trump campaign official.
Trump campaign official. He's on the backhoe.
Yeah. So I don't really see that happening. But in any case, let's talk about A-Rock. If you could turn my mic down just a little bit, it's at least coming into me. It's a little
just
bit
his
distorted.
headphones. I think it's hot on the headphones.
Is
I
it
think
the
everyone
headphones?
else is saying it's good.
Okay. So here's what actually happened Tuesday night. The Democrats lost a couple of seats in the House.
Mm-hmm. Be
The
5 or 6.
Republicans should keep the Senate.
It'll be close. Yep.
It's going to be close, but it looks like they're going to keep the Senate. The Democrats lost 2 House legislatures. I think
that's a big problem.
It's a
we
huge
just finished
problem.
the census, and now we're
about to redistrict, right?
Yeah.
In fact, the biggest loss is going to be that right there. So the Republicans, I want to say, are going to hold somewhere between 29 and 30 states. So what's going to happen is they're going to redistrict. And I'll give you a great example of redistricting. So really, all redistricting is how can I put this? Is designing your district in such a way to get a win, if you will.
Yeah.
To ensure that you win. And if you want to,
like our district,
I'm about to say that. So if you guys want a really great lesson, Google Dan Crenshaw's district.
Yeah, look at his congressional district.
His is District 2 here, I think.
I don't know.
I can't remember. But Dan Crenshaw, let me pull it up real quick.
It's like a snake.
It is ridiculous. And let me explain what. Yeah, it is District 2. All right. Dan Crenshaw's District 2 is one of the most, it's just ridiculous. It literally starts on the northeast side of town, just outside the Beltway.
Yep.
It picks up Humble, parts of Spring, Kingwood, then gets real skinny as he gets to 45, stays south of 99, then picks up Spring, Cypress, Klein, comes all the way down to 90. By the way, he's also
right here.
our rep here.
Yeah.
Notice it's all the wealthier parts
We
of
got a camera
Houston.
and some lights, so there's a good chance he might show up.
He may just actually show up. Yeah, sneak in. And then it comes down 290, hits the Beltway, goes down to Jersey Village, but dips out to like Bear Creek, comes down to Highway 6, then goes all the way in. It follows I-10 through the Energy Corridor into Tanglewood and inside Oak Forest, and then cuts a little piece out for the Texas Medical Center. It is literally the wealthiest parts of town, right? Like you couldn't draw a better district. Well, they're going to try, but you couldn't draw a better district, right? So Dan is never going to leave office, like until he goes to the Senate or as governor or whatever. Like that district is going to be red till the second coming. So what the Democrats did in focusing on Trump, they took down the general, but they're going to lose the war, and they're going to lose the war long term. The Republicans are going to redistrict.
Jason, you are not my enemy.
Oh, whatever. But that's the only analogy. So they're going to lose the war because you're going to get 30 states that are going to get redistricted.
Yeah.
2022 is going to be an absolute bloodbath for Democrats, and there's not much they can do about it.
Well, the Republicans out strategized. They brought out a whole bunch more folks, which was absolutely amazing, in areas where nobody thought they were going to, like South Florida.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. So, it's like some of the people who work for us don't know we're on the.
Yeah, we got a show from noon to 1, guys.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think they did really, really well. How it works out, we'll see how it works out. You never know. I think I think you had a president who held the Republican Party together out of fear and retribution, political retribution.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come and slap you around. I think people like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are now maybe free to vote the way they might want to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how well that lead holds up in the Senate on some critical things. I think there's probably you can target 2 senators every single time to move some things over. I just don't think it's. I don't think you're going to see a Green New Deal. I don't think you're going to see any of that stuff. I think that's all just red meat that, our senator here is throwing out to the press. I think it's all red meat. It's just we're still all fundraising because everyone's still broke, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you're going to see any of that stuff. I'm hoping that we get I would just be happy with a $5,000 tax credit for our Tesla. That's really what I'm looking for, and not to erase the accelerated depreciation that Trump had put in place.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of changes on the real estate side. I just don't.
Nor on taxes.
I never the radical leftists, that is the AOC and the what do they call them? The gang,
Quad,
whatever they call the
Quad Squad.
Yeah, the squad.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are not interested in bringing those folks into the.
We've already told everyone. Did you hear the Virginia Democrat congresswoman?
Oh yeah, she's like, if this keeps going on, we're gonna get slaughtered in 2022.
Get slaughtered.
Like the moderates,
I don't ever want to hear defund the police again.
I don't want to hear defund the police.
That's right.
I don't want to hear communism. Like I don't want to hear
no
socialism.
socialism, none of that stuff.
I don't want to hear any of this craziness. So, by and large, most of the Democrats, like a lot of the Republicans, own real estate.
Yeah.
It's a hedge against the political class.
Yep.
It really is. So I'm not so worried about that being an issue. Real estate should do just fine. At least down here in Texas. I mean, we're not going anywhere down here. This is still one of the greatest places on earth to live. But I do believe that it's going to get real interesting in 2022. We'll see. Truth be told, I don't think anything happens for the next 4 years. I really don't. I mean, I think it's going to be, and it's going to infuriate a lot of people. Here's the reality. When you turn on the evening news, if they ever talk about Trump, 92% of it's going to be negative. Like, you can't claim there's no bias there. It's absolutely absurd. So just stop watching the news. Like, and social media, I think, is another big loser in this thing. The amount of censorship that's taken place there has been absolutely amazing.
Horrible.
So we'll see. It's going to get real interesting, but I think it's going to be somewhat business as usual. They're talking about another $750 billion in aid.
Minimum, yeah.
So, the joke is everyone said, after the election, coronavirus is going to go away. I'm like, no, it's not. They're now talking about nationwide mask mandates and some of that. If you want a civil war, that's how you get it started. Start telling people.
Starts on a mask?
Well, I mean, you get to the point where it's like, hey, look, people are wearing it. States are implementing it. So now what are you going to do?
I don't think there's going to be a civil war. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more fun about that when we come back. This is Robert and Jason with Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. If you want to reach out to us, check us out on the web, mrtxre.com, mrtxre.com. We'll be back. Who are those people?
We need
Pretty soon.
automatic door closers on all of our stuff. Yeah.
We just don't have a receptionist. No one knows how to get there. And I got to demo that wall in the back, so we have that breezeway. Almost there. Roll us in anytime you want, A-Rock. All right, welcome back, everyone. Robert and Jason here, Mr. Texas Real Estate, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I think after the election, everyone's blood is hot. I think I am happy with the results. It wasn't the results I thought was going to happen. I thought we'd have a Trump presidency and a blue Congress. I just wanted it split. I didn't want anything to move one way or the other greatly. So I'm happy with the results. Again, as real estate investors or real estate holders, I don't think there's a lot that I'm necessarily worried about with all this change. I think social media was we were talking about that before the break. I think we've realized a couple things. Pollsters are idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing that absolutely bothers me. The media, not everyone but Fox, but the media are idiots.
Yes.
They all have their own agenda, right? They're all selling commercials, period. So, yeah, it's like they're like, oh my God, MSNBC, they are celebrating on the air. Yes, of course. Absolutely they were, because they have their own agenda. Yep, and you guys are all stoic on yours because you have your own agenda. I get it. The fringe stuff, like the OA, only American, all American news or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's just crazy Q&A stuff, right? So we have a real lack of sources of fair media. That's just a big problem. And then social media is a joke too. They the folks that they're worried about, they keep censoring, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. And then it's a platform. Here's how I look at it. Like, all this, hey, man, you better go buy more bullets and all that other stuff. It's the same stuff that happened to Obama. Let me just put it to you this way. I'm really sorry that your life sucks. Right? I'm sorry that the highlight of your life is going to go on social media and call for some sort of civil disorder, right? That's just pathetic.
I don't think that's. Let's back up. This
That's
is not
my opinion.
When people talk about, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's guys out there that think that real civil war is coming. I think there is a real discussion about when people hear civil war, the first thing they think of is, yeah, you're going to be the blue coats, somebody's going to be the red coats, and we're going to be shooting muskets out
There's
at
no
each other across.
lines. There's no battle lines.
There's no battle lines, but there certainly will be at this. It will be. It's the same way. Like, we don't fight wars like this anymore.
No, not at all.
I mean, we are absolutely at war with China, depending on what theater we're in. We're absolutely at war with Russia. Now, we're not in open war with China. We're not sending, but we're playing these little tit-for-tat games with them in multiple theaters in which our military is operating in. We may not be, quote, at war, but I guarantee you we absolutely are, right? So
it's not a hot war.
It's not a hot war, yeah. We're not sending nuclear subs and all that other stuff. But I can certainly see, there's this discussion right now, and it happened during Obama, and it was even a discussion before Obama, where the state of Texas had two options. One is we could secede from the union, right? There was that discussion. And nobody even they were like, well, yeah, I guess you guys could do that if you wanted to. They're still in the it's real funny. I had a buddy of mine say, in the Texas Constitution, still says we could break up into 5 states. We'd get an additional 8 senators.
Yeah, but then you would bring in Puerto Rico. You'd split up North and South of California. Yeah.
Well, but the problem is for that they can't do that without congressional approval. State of Texas, when it came from a republic to a state, we've got that option at the state level, and the United States can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen in a million years, right?
Most people have trouble getting the laundry done, getting the kids to bed, cutting the lawn, and going shopping, right? Most people have that problem. How they're going to go out and fight a civil war is beyond me.
So here's another way to look at it, and this is something I've had a discussion with a lot of my friends recently, and that is, hey, I don't like the social stuff they're not so worried about. I mean, they are. It's kind of annoying, but they're really concerned about the financial side. Because at the end of the day, where are taxes levied? And they're levied on people who actually pay them. So the question that's going around my group of folks is, should we start looking at diversifying internationally? And if so, what countries?
Yeah.
And if we diversify internationally with investment funds there, then what's it take for us to have multiple citizenship, right? So you'd have dual citizenship. One here in the United States and one somewhere else, right?
We're on that path, yeah.
So lots of discussions around that now.
But that's not for some broke-ass fortune builder guy, right?
No,
Just shooting his mouth off.
Right, yeah.
Wherever he's at, Pennsylvania, Indiana.
Yeah, I can tell you, if, quote, the Civil War starts, I'm not going to be around here for it. Like, you guys fight that battle.
I'll be in my condo in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Costa Rica. I'll be in Mexico. I'll be somewhere else. St. Kitts is another great one. Like, I'm not going to be around here for that nonsense. There's no point. But I don't think that happens either. It's funny. I was chatting with somebody and they said, well, this is really the decline in the United States. And I'm like, no, this has been taking place for 100 years now. This is the liberalization of the West. And until the next big thing happens, you'll see a swing back the other way. So it's, but I mean, I think it does draw into question the integrity of the election. I think it also draws into question, do these elections really matter? I put up this post in 2016 as kind of a joke, but everybody took off with it. And I said, do these elections really matter? Does it really matter for you? Although we say all this, we probably ought to put a big caveat here and here's the caveat. If there was no COVID, this would be completely different. That is such a huge caveat in this whole thing. If there was no coronavirus, you would see a sea of red.
I got it, but you know what? It happened.
Right, sure.
And so what happened was, I'm going to think the White House dropped the ball on some of this.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what happens.
And now we've got Pfizer. It says, oh, by the way, our vaccine should be ready.
Less than a week later.
So I'm like, if the election were 4 months from now,
I thought about that this morning. I was like, Trump must have pissed him off at some point.
yeah, something fierce.
Why didn't they announce it last week, right?
I know.
Say they were close.
I know. Yeah, it's you could put a big asterisk next to this election.
And we got one more segment, right,
Yeah.
A-Rock? Yeah. So we should talk about that because that's pretty important news that happened.
Yeah, today, just now.
Yep. So anyway, I think, I don't think it matters. I don't think it does matter. And it's important that people's votes are counted. That's really important. Like I said last week, democracy is absolutely messy around the fringes, right? Was there a dead person that voted? Yes. The woman's daughter actually went to the press and said, yes, I submitted my mother's ballot because she was so interested in this election. And take a guess who she voted for.
Trump?
Yes. Right? So, yes, it's always a little messy around the ballot, around the edges. The mail-in ballots, I get it because of COVID, but I'm not a happy guy with that stuff. I'd rather just see early voting, much, much earlier voting. I think the folks here in Harris County did it very well, made sure the polls were open for working class folks to go and get their stuff done. So
we have for the first time 24-hour voting, which was pretty cool.
I think that's brilliant. Yeah,
I wanted to go at like 2 a.m. just so I'd be like, woo, and voted at 2 a.m. It couldn't happen. But,
because the way it used to be, it was really who's available on a Tuesday afternoon, right? And it's you not working class. So I think there's going to be some looking and reviewing of that. I wouldn't doubt. I think we're going to get back to the era of task force. I think we'll have an election task force. I think we'll have an entitlement task force, Social Security task force. I think blue ribbon presidential commissions. I think you're going to see all that stuff. So anyway, hey, this is Robert Jason. We'll be back from this next break. Hang tight. Getting killed all over the place. Where's my money? We're missing half our staff today.
Where are they at?
Chris had something to do with her kids. The other two are in California. One hasn't started.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert with Mr. Texas Real Estate, my partner, Jason Bible. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. So Pfizer, an American company, Brooklyn in the house, y'all. Brooklyn founded, has said they have a vaccine that is 90% effective.
Which is incredible because the FDA was saying, hey, we don't think... We're looking at 30% efficacy, which is why would you take the thing in the first place?
So it's 90% effective, and they're going to have, but you take it in 2 stages.
Which is crazy. 600 million doses for the United States.
And it has to be refrigerated.
Okay.
So that's a lot of logistics to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't think it'll happen nationwide 2022 we're talking about. In the meantime, as everyone knows, the therapeutics have gotten much, much better. The cocktails and the treatments are much better, so we should see a reduction in mortality rate. I think we're still seeing some correlation, which is, again, not causation, between not wearing a mask and not social distancing and catching the bug, right? So I would be hard-pressed to think that there's going to be a mandate on masks.
It's interesting because that's what we'll find out today. The coronavirus task force starts today,
yeah.
right?
Well, you see our guy from Minnesota's on there.
No.
You should pull it up. Who's on the task force? One of the whistleblowers, the very early on, who got fired for going to the press with this stuff, is pushed back in. The infectious disease guy out of Minnesota University, the one that we saw very early on, he was on Rogan. He's on the task force.
Oh, you're kidding. He's an interesting guy.
Yep. Some former Obama Health and Human Services folks.
No kidding. Michael Osterholm is on that task force. That's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yep.
And he's not a huge liberal either. He's
No, he's not at all.
He doesn't care.
No.
Yeah, he's a real interesting guy.
I'm gonna
Gooseby,
say
that's his name. Gooseby's the other one.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Some good dudes in there.
I'm gonna say good job, Mr. President-elect.
Yeah.
First one out, and I think we can expect that. I don't listen. We tried to paint him as a creepy little Uncle Joe and not sharp and Sleepy Joe and all that other stuff. I don't think any of that stuff stuck. I think you're gonna get Joe Biden. And I think he's a public servant, and so I'd love to. I hope we'll see a lot more of this stuff. There's always going to be like nothing you can do is ever going to make Ted Cruz agree with the president, right?
No.
Because it's all about money.
I was not really worried about Biden. I'm worried about if there's a problem with Biden or if we get a bunch of radicals in Congress. That's my biggest concern.
Someone dropped a little hint. They said that it may very well be that Biden does not run for a second term.
I don't see how he can.
And focuses on just getting the tasks done.
Mm.
If you know a lot about Joe Biden, if you don't know a lot about Joe Biden, you should take a look. He's had a lot of tragedy in his life, and they were grooming his son, Beau. I mean, he was going to be the Delaware senator. He was the Attorney General, Delaware senator, and this would have been the year where Beau Biden ran for office, ran for president. And so there's a little thing I caught that is basically, hey, this would have been Beau's year, but Joe stepped in. And so, very interesting guy. Guys, he's a good guy, right? I mean, you're gonna. It was pretty boring speech, but we're happy with it that it wasn't crazy. He went and got up and went to church on Sunday morning, right? Like most presidents do, and I think we're gonna have 4 years of pretty boring stuff. Back to.
They're still gonna be watching Trump's Twitter.
Oh yeah, well let's talk about that. I think
Trump
the
is still
smartest thing Trump could do is to go in and somehow acquire a majority percentage of the O&A, right?
Yeah, OAN.
OAN, right? Yeah, OAN. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
he'd fit right in there. It would be absolutely perfect.
He'd blow them up too.
Oh my God! And I think that's what Fox was worried about. They're worried about him going into the media. That would be fun. I can have all the fun I want if that's the case, right?
Yeah.
And so, see that stuff blow up that way would be great. I think the Twitter's going to go. I can say that I don't know if it's just the way I don't think it was the way the media portrayed him, but the photographs I saw of the president this weekend, he looked a little down. I guess he would be after all that effort and everything he did in that last month after he got COVID worked.
Mm-hmm.
The rallies worked, even though people were complaining. They absolutely worked. He went into those states and was super competitive and won a lot of them just based on sheer will.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Sheer will. Just I'm gonna keep going. I think he did like 11 stops on the Monday before election.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and
relentless.
just by sheer will.
Yeah, absolutely relentless.
Yeah. So I think again, I'm okay with the results. I think a divided government is perfect. I think I'm happy that we're going to have more science discussions. I think we'll see a little bit more than that. And I don't think any major tax, other than giving people tax breaks, I don't think there'll be any major tax increases. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen.
No.
Right? So, and Biden's going to get a lot of credit for for the economy in 2 years from now, like every president who really doesn't deserve it
Mm-hmm.
gets. And, everyone on the right will be freaking out and pissed off at that, but that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Um, and, now it's on to college football and NFL and buying more houses.
Yeah, I don't think we ever stopped doing that.
Well, we need to take a little break here. But, yeah, we have a lot in the hopper. We have 3 more down at Surfside.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We signed that contract
came
today.
Yep.
Yeah. Buying more. Don't stop.
And when you do them as Airbnb, the DSCR is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yep.
I was actually looking at building beach houses, looking at plans this weekend. Be pretty nice.
Well, I am, and we're also in Corpus this weekend, which will be
Yep.
good. Try and catch up with some of our folks down there. That's about it. I think we're going to have I think it's going to go back to, I hope it just kind of goes back to what it is and just focusing on real estate. So much money was spent on this election. It's absolutely grotesque. But we got to go back to it. We got to deal with COVID. We got to deal with foreclosures. We got to deal with evictions. We got to deal with buying more property. We got to deal with raising capital. So, we had some fun, guys. Thank you all for joining us. If you found our election stuff kind of interesting or a little bit wacky, we had some fun. But I think, other than breaking news, we'll sort of settle back into real estate here for the rest of the week. Thanks for joining us, Jason, Robert, Mr. Texas Real Estate. Have an awesome, awesome night.
Something still doesn't sound right.
No, I got to find out what it looks like online.
Well, I sent Andy a text. I think he's going to come by when he can, so maybe we'll have him look at the